Hello, this is Bailey Averett. Today I will be doing a lesson with Caitlin Delaney. However, because of COVID-19, we are going to be social distance, so you'll only see me on the video. And we won't be wearing masks because we are social distanced. So, first off, Miss Delaney, last week we decided to reteach the structure of our essays, and we went from a 62% proficient to an 86. That was a really great job. What actions did you take to reach this goal?
We worked on developing a better outline that was easier for the kids to follow so that they had something better to look back on that made more sense to them.
Okay, awesome. And so for today, what I'd really like to do is I'd really like to look at TEAC 19BII and the checkpoint essay results, specifically looking at the thesis statement. So what I want you to do is I want you to take 1 minute, and in your own words, I want you to write down what you think students should know or be able to do to show mastery. So, all right, our 1 minute starts now. Okay. So we are going to use an exemplar from a previously scored STAR essay test, where a 4 is what we're looking for. So, what do you think the students need to be able to know or do to show mastery of this TEAC?
They need to be able to clearly include the prompt in their thesis statement, and they need to make sure that they're including one reason that they'll talk about later in their essay.
Okay. So, I want you to take a minute to review the exemplar, and we're going to identify what are the keys to an ideal answer. All right. And our minute starts now. All right, our minute has elapsed. So, how does the thesis statement align with the standard?
The word choice is very concise, and they use the words from the prompt that they were supposed to use.
Okay, so those are the keys to an ideal answer. I'm sorry, I did forget to ask you what you had just written down. So, how do you think that would help support this standard?
They need to make sure that they're focused and coherent.
All right. So, is there anything at this time that you'd like to add to the chart to help us unpack anything?
No, I don't think so.
All right. Okay. So now I want you to go ahead and get out your student essays that you have. And what I want you to do is I want you to take a minute to compare your student exemplars to the teacher exemplar. Okay? Okay. So what you'll do is you'll just look at the one from the STAR test And you'll compare how this student does compared to your average students and see the big major differences between those two. All right, so our minute is going to go ahead and start now. All right, we're going to go ahead and stop. So between looking at these two, is there a gap in between the exemplar and your student exemplars?
Yes.
Okay. Do you think students have different pathways or evidence to demonstrate mastery of the standard? Or do you think there's only really one way?
There's multiple ways.
Okay. Oh, hold on 1 minute. All right, sorry about that. We had someone walk into my room. So, Ms. Delaney, could you tell me what are the different pathways that your students could use to show mastery of this standard?
They can either write a thesis statement that shows what they're supposed to be able, how they're supposed to be able to write a thesis statement, or they can be able to identify examples of strong thesis statements.
Fantastic. And so, do you think that the student exemplar offers something that your teacher exemplar does not? Like, do you think there are any things that your students do really well in their essays that you don't see in the exemplar from STAR?
No.
Okay. All right. So now we are going to we're going to say about a minute, and we're going to figure out what are the key gaps between the rest of our student work and our exemplar. So I want you to think back to, oh my goodness. Okay. That's my principal. Okay. So now we're back. And so we went ahead and we actually took that minute before we forgot that we were no longer recording. And we discussed that you don't really see any strong goals or anything strong in your student exemplars that we don't see in the teacher exemplar, correct?
Right.
Okay. So I think our key areas to reteach in order to make sure that our students are really understanding the standard are, first of all, going to be that they need to be able to develop their strong reasons to go with their thesis statement. And then also we need to work on using the exact wording of the prompt in order to have a concise and clear thesis statement. Would you agree?
I would agree.
All right. So now at a later date, we will practice this reteach probably tomorrow. Do you have time during your conference again tomorrow to do this?
Sounds good.
Awesome. Thank you so much.